Steven.
Kevin.
David.
With our powers combined, we are the
Brothers
Sport.
By the power of podcasting,
We have the power. Welcome back to Brothers Born Podcast. Kevin is out on military stuff right now, so Dave and I thought we'd get together and talk a little bit because I have some news.
What's your news?
Well, I found out that I'm going to be a dad here pretty soon. And right now, I'm frankly a little nervous, excited, but a little bit nervous. And I was like, how am I, one of the weirdest, most awkward dudes ever, going to raise a child? And I thought, well, I know, I can ask Dave. He's had 5 of them, and he could give me some advice.
How are you going to raise a child? That's a good question.
I don't know, man. In Florida.
Yeah, that's true.
So
I don't know. I'm raising 5 of them, but I don't know if I'm the best person to turn to if you're around my kids too long, you might realize that, but we'll give it a shot.
So I was trying to think, there's so many different articles out there you can look up on, parenting, but there is no handbook. There is no perfect handbook. And I think it's not meant to be because everyone has their own style, their own flair. And my flair will be different than yours. But I came up with a few questions that have been on my mind that I thought I'd ask you. Some of them
nice.
are.
I will tell you, I've never, ever opened up one of those handbooks. So, at least we have that going.
You did, Dave. It's the handbook of your heart.
Whatever. The handbook of my heart. Sure. I open that one up all the time. I open up the handbook of my wallet. That's the book that I open up to use the most.
Like, all right, here you go. Yep. That's the one thing I'm kind of most nervous about is how expensive children can be. Right now, I'm only going to have the one. You've had 5, so
I think so.
I can only imagine. But I was just curious. I have questions that kind of span a whole bunch of different aspects of it. So I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are. Number one, early on, crying infants. How did you deal with it, and how did it change for each child?
That part of my life is pretty much a complete blur. So I don't know if it's changed much. Let's see. We had our first one in 2008, our last one in 2016. By the time she stopped crying all the time, there was probably a good 10 years there where I dealt with crying children. But when they're newborns, they definitely cry a lot more. How do I deal with it?
Yeah.
I pretty much go every time they wake up and get them out of their crib and put them back to sleep. Me, every time. Every single time.
Interesting.
Not my wife. Me.
Cool.
So, yeah, and it is true about the not sleeping thing. But you get used to it after a while. But now that I'm a little bit older, I feel like my brain cells are not there where they were. And I attribute a lot of it to that not sleeping for all those years.
So what was an average night's sleep for you during that time?
I don't know. I guess you get enough sleep once you figure out how to put them down, but you just can't get a lot of sleep without a break, at least for me. But I guess my average amount, if I got 5 to 6 hours, that was probably a good night.
Oh, wow.
And probably 6 hours was a decent night. Let me see. Brian was the worst one. He was our first.
Yeah.
And I had to, every time he wake up, the only thing that would quiet him down is we have one of those giant yoga balls, and I had to sit on that bad boy and bounce and bounce and bounce for hours on him. And we still have that yoga ball, but he was probably the worst one.
Now, was he really the worst, or is it just because it's your first and then you kind of learned how to work it with the other ones?
I don't know. I remember him being the worst. So I don't know for sure. I think it was him, or maybe I just learned better how to put him to sleep after a while. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. Sadie was pretty bad too. Like to solve the problem with Sadie, not when she was a newborn, but when she was a little bit older, we would just give up and let her sleep in our bed,
Oh yeah.
which I don't recommend. But sometimes when it's between sleeping and having her in the bed with you or just staying up till she falls asleep, then you just cave in. And she slept in our bed for a while, and then she slept in our room till she was probably like 4, and she slept like on her blanket on the floor at the foot of our bed.
Oh
Um,
my.
till she was, and it was, I had her in the room, in her own room when she was pretty early, but then there's a few nights where we just couldn't get her to sleep. So Alana's like, just put her in the bedroom. Like, no, I'll keep her in her room. And somehow we ended up putting her in our bedroom. I lost out on that argument. And then she stayed in our room for a long time. So you gotta try to not keep them in your room. Once they get a certain age, you gotta get them out of there. But
Yeah.
sometimes that's the only way you could get sleep too. So
Well, I was visiting a
darned if you
friend.
do, you're darned if you don't.
I was visiting a friend the other day. They have a 3 month old, and they said they have a guest bedroom in their house, and sometimes one will sleep in there while the other one's with the kid in their room, and like they're like it's not we it's you just got to sleep, so they'll
We have a
sleep in
guest
different rooms.
room. We had a guest room with Sadie. Why didn't I ever do that? The others we didn't have a guest room, but I should have done that. But no,
So
I would just because I wanted her in her room so bad, I would have to lay down in there with her till she fell asleep. And you get so tired after a while that sometimes you just fall asleep in there too, and then you wake up a few hours later, like uncomfortable because you've been sleeping on the floor forever. And you try to sneak off to your room, and then you wake her up. But
yeah, like come back. Well, okay. The
and then
child
the
gets
other one of them, like maybe it was Bryant. Like I put him down in his crib, and I have to keep my hand on him, and make sure he knows that I'm there. And then sometimes he's asleep, but as soon as I take my hand off of his back or whatever, he'll start crying again. So there was a long time where I didn't get much sleep. I'm not sure how I survived with work. For me, the 3 in the middle we had in May because I'm a teacher, and that gave me the first 3 months where I could be home with them.
Oh yeah, for
I
sure.
know that doesn't work for you, but
No,
that helped out with those 3. Maybe that's why I don't remember them as well as Bryant and Sadie
that
because
does make sense now that you mention it, because whereas Bryant and Sadie are like at the beginning of the school year, really.
yeah.
Um, so
Plus, they're the
interesting.
first one and the most recent one.
Yeah.
The other 3 kind of just I don't know. I can't even tell them apart with how I raised them. So some other questions might not work very well, but
So sometimes you can't even tell them apart when you see them. You're like, oh, is that
that's that's true.
Grayson or is that Hudson? Is
Especially Hudson and Grace. Don't ever name your kids if you have multiples names that sound alike
so
or have something similar, because Hudson and Grayson, I mix them up every time because they both have son at the end of their name. Good thing
so
they're both my sons. At least I
in
got that part.
in Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, there's a guy in there who owns a construction company, and he only hires people with the word son in their name. So there's like Bolson, Hudson, Grayson, Allison, Addison. They're all like son, and like that's
Bryson,
that's
yeah.
that's his condition for hiring them. They have to have son in their name, and I thought it was pretty funny.
This is going off a little bit from the topic. Well, not really, but you know who George Foreman is, right?
Yeah,
Okay, I don't know if you saw that new movie about him.
I did not.
Um,
Didn't even know he has movies.
well, no, it's like a movie about his life. It's actually
Oh,
pretty interesting. He was a boxer, and then he became a preacher, and then made some bad investments. In order to make his money back, he had to box again. So he became the oldest heavyweight champion. He won the heavyweight championship at the age of 45.
oh,
But anyways, when he came back, but I recommend the movie. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a good movie. But he named all his kids. Of course, he had a lot of kids because he wasn't at first. He just had a lot of kids, but after the first couple, he just named them all George. So there's George number 2, George number 3. The girl was Georgina, I think. So that way he wouldn't mix up their names.
that's there you go, man. That's the way to do it. If I have more than one kid, I'll have to consider that.
Pretty funny.
So
But
your
anyway,
child's a little bit older now, and they want to watch the same show over and over again, or read the same book over and over again. How do you break the loop?
You just wait for him to grow out of it, I guess. I don't know.
That
That's what
sounds
I was getting.
terrible.
Let's see. For that one too, like for Bryant, he loved um Elmo,
Yeah.
and he loved this show called Caillou.
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know if,
I
yeah,
refuse to let my kids see Caillou.
well, Caillou's not really a thing anymore. So, but he would watch those over and over and over again. I didn't like them at all, really, but I just, after a while, you just kind of make a joke out of it. You just
Yeah.
kind of, you know, the best one was Curious George. Miles, I think, was in the Curious George, and Hudson, and those ones are actually pretty funny. So you watch them and you kind of just make fun of them to yourself.
I've
But
heard some
how do you break the loop? You kind of just are patient and wait it out, and eventually they outgrow it, I guess.
because when we did on our other podcast, we did Captain Hook versus Chase from Paw Patrol, and I remember Kevin rejoicing that his son no longer liked Paw Patrol. He's like, "I'm so glad he doesn't like Paw Patrol anymore."
Right? I don't know. Like the main thing, I guess the only show like that for me would have been Caillou a little bit,
Yeah.
but at Christmas time, of course, it doesn't matter because I love Christmas shows too. But Frosty the Snowman, we would watch that thing so many times, and after a while, like I started noticing all these things in it. Because when I was a child, I used to think that was a magical movie
Yeah.
because it meant Christmas time was here, and I loved watching it. And I think I remember mom had an illegal copy. Maybe I shouldn't say that on a podcast, but she copied it on a VHS tape off of TV, and I would watch that tape like all the time.
Yeah.
And when my kids started watching it, the first time I'm like, oh, nostalgia, this is pretty cool. I can enjoy this with them like I used to enjoy it, with my brothers.
Yeah.
And I kept finding all these things in it that were like editing mistakes or just dumb stuff I would notice. So after a while, you kind of start to look for things like that when you see something over and over and over again, or you start to analyze the characters, or
Analyze the characters of Frosty the Snowman.
well, no, not just that, but any show, or
You
you
write an
start to
essay.
realize what their tendencies are. Or me, I would Google like the history behind who did the voice for Caillou. Did you know the original girl who did the voice for Caillou died in a car accident?
Oh no.
Because I noticed when we were watching Caillou that the voice changed after a while. Like,
Oh.
that's weird. So I looked it up, and the original girl died in a car accident.
Oh,
I
it's
forget how old she was, but you start to find out stuff like that.
interesting.
You have to find ways to make it interesting. Just let it, and then just let them grow out of it. The book thing, I don't. Sadie still does that sometimes because I read her books, bedtime stories, and she likes her certain books. That's not really that bad. You just have to always do your best to act them out and be excited about it. Like you can't get into the rut of, since you read it so many times, you sound boring when you read it.
Oh yeah, you have to be
Because it
exciting.
takes away the magical part of it. And I don't know, like it's cool reading books too. I don't care if I read the same book over and over again. The shows do get a little annoying though.
There's
So
you're
I have to
talk
find ways to make them interesting.
you're talking about the actors, interesting things about them. So when Stephanie was a kid, she used to watch a show called Mike Mulligan and his Steam Shovel. Uh and it's like an old cartoon from the 80s or maybe the late 70s, I think the 80s. And I found out the little kid in that is Jason Biggs, who's the main guy from the American Pie
Oh
movies.
yeah, I know who that is.
So it's kind of funny that he's like this little kid's cartoon way back when. I was like, oh,
Well,
nice.
that's what you do. Like you start to analyze the shows, or you start to look up facts about them. I when we watched Paw Patrol a little bit, I would look up facts about each different dog or whatever. Um,
You're gonna bring him
every
back to
time
the
I saw a new,
throwdowns.
every time I saw a new Muppet on Sesame Street that I hadn't heard of before, I'd get their name and start googling about when was their first appearance. I'm like, and then I'm like, hey, what happened? I haven't seen Big Bird in a while. So I look up, like you go down these rabbit holes, and that's the other thing. My younger ones, like all they want to do is watch YouTube, 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 and I do try to. I don't like that very much because there's a lot of crap on YouTube. And the one that did get on my nerves was I'm spending a lot of time on this question, but Blippy. There's this guy on YouTube named Blippy. He used to be in the Marines or something, and then he got in trouble. I don't know. I can't remember everything he did. I think it involved pornography or something. But now he made children's videos, and they're actually not bad. But you look at him, and he's a multimillionaire now, and you look at what he does, and you're like,
Man,
man, I could do that.
I've heard really good
And
things about the TV show Bluey. Have you watched Bluey at
oh
all?
yeah, I try to get my kids into that, but they won't watch it.
I've
It
heard
is a
really good.
pretty good. I like it. It's a good show. I would recommend doing that one. I'm in this dad group on Facebook, and they all talk about it. And I almost got Sadie and Grayson to like it because it's on Disney Plus,
Yeah,
but the YouTube kept calling them back. They'd
Bluey.
rather watch kids play with toys on YouTube. Not now, really, but like a year or so ago, 2 years ago. They'd rather watch kids play with the same toys they have than actually play with the toys themselves, which YouTube kind of takes away childhood a little bit, creativity and stuff. They love YouTube nowadays. So they
Yeah,
watch that, even though we have every show they want on between Netflix and Disney Plus and Hulu. We have pretty much every show they want. So I would say look up shows that you like, get the
yeah.
apps and find shows that you like. But then on the other hand, you watch shows that you like and you're like, why did I like this show? Like I liked one, you're speaking of that one that Stephanie watched. I liked one called Today's Special, Kevin and I used to watch, where this mannequin comes to life at nighttime and
That sounds odd. That
goes
sounds
around the
terrifying.
mall. And it's a Canadian show. And I didn't realize that when I was a kid. I didn't realize that till I got married to Alana, and we were talking about it once. And luckily, my kids never, got into that because sometimes you try to go with the show that you used to like, and you're like, "What the heck? Why did I like this?" But I remember mom still let me watch those, so kind of just have to take it on
So,
the chin with that one sometimes, as long as they're not watching anything inappropriate.
so that goes into my next question, actually. Your child is interested in something that you are most definitely not interested in. How do
Then you
you,
become interested in it. That's all you
oh
do.
man. All right, fair enough.
But
Um,
you also can sort of lead them into liking stuff you like, though, too. Like
yes.
you can pretty much influence them in different ways.
Good.
But yeah, like, well, I've learned to like a lot of different things over the years, and a lot of times kids have passing phases where they like something and they don't anymore.
Yeah.
Um, but like I loved dad and our dad would because dad would watch Curious George with him a lot too, and dad and I would just use that. We would talk about Curious George together, kind of like we talk about Seinfeld together
Yeah.
and about all George's antics.
That goes for
But
Seinfeld and Curious George.
yeah,
George's
yeah,
answer.
right, that's true. But you kind of just have to let them do their thing. And you just if it's something that's not productive or that is inappropriate or whatever, you got to stop that. But
Yeah.
um, like you kind of just for me when they did like something, I would try to put in my little flavor to it. Like they had a love for cars, so I'm like, oh, I'll just buy them some Hot Wheels and see what happens. And then Brian got really into Hot Wheels for a while, which was cool. And then the same thing happened with like you just find things that you liked
Yeah.
and kind of introduce them to it. Like Legos were really big for our kids
Yeah.
for a little while. They love those.
Do they still
Um,
play with Legos?
no, once in a while, Grayson and Sadie will get them out. Bryant even will, mess around with them once in a while. They are ages 9 to 99. A lot of
Yeah,
the pack.
seriously. Well, Steph and I collect we have a bunch of Harry Potter Legos and a
Yeah.
couple Star Wars ones, but I,
Okay. I don't. I don't collect them myself, but like you just kind of steer in that direction, and if it sticks, then that's awesome. Like I got them to like Legos for a while, but then they went nuts with it, and they got way more Legos than I ever had. I got them to like Hot Wheels, um, things like that. But then there's other things that you just learn to like and try to do with them.
Hex bugs.
Um, yeah, hex bugs I didn't really, but then you just find ways to make that interesting. Trains is another one. That old wooden train set we used
My
to have. Yeah,
pieces.
Bryant used to love that thing, man, which was cool. And so it is kind of neat to like give him some things you like. But then on the other hand, I give him all of my old Ninja Turtles, not yours, don't worry. And then they lost, speaking of my pieces, they lost all the pieces, they lost all the weapons, and they broke everything. I don't know. So you kind of, part
Yeah.
of you dies away when they do that. But no, to make it long, to shorten, you just have to like it too.
Yeah.
And then you'll find ways to, I mean, you just if they're your kids, you like what they like. And like Bryant was into hockey for it was only 1 year, then we moved here and there's no hockey team. But I had no idea anything about hockey, but I watched him play and I thought it was awesome.
Yeah. However,
Bryant now Bryant's in the track and field, and Bryant, Miles, and Hudson are all on the swim team. I barely can stay afloat in the water, but I love going to watch him swim and swim meets, and like it's just really cool to see him doing well in it, even if it's something I haven't done. So
so they're athletes, they gotta like keep up the calories, to keep the keep themselves
Yeah.
healthy. So how do you trick your kid into eating healthy food? This one I'm very curious about.
If you find out how to do that, you just have to let me know how to do that. My kid's diet consists sometimes of cheese strings because you can get some protein in them that way, or calcium. Let's see, goldfish, fruit snacks. I don't know. You just have to sneak it in there somehow. Alana's pretty good at that. We'll find ways of sneaking in. Like I'll make them smoothies,
Yeah.
and I'll put Greek yogurt in it.
Okay.
It gives them more protein, but you can taste Greek yogurt really badly or really strongly. So you just have to load it in with. I'll put a whole bunch of orange juice in there and a whole bunch of sherbet in there, but then I add a little bit of Greek yogurt. There's the Greek yogurt, and
That's
they could
funny.
tell if I add too much of it. They're like, "This tastes a little bit more." How do they say it? I don't know. Alana says chalky. They don't say chalky though. I don't. I forget how they say it, or a little more rough, or I don't know. Like you tell when I add too much in it. And like other when they're younger, we tried things like it seems like you can make anything out of cauliflower. You'll start to discover when your kids get older, like cauliflower pasta, cauliflower nuggets, chicken nuggets. I don't know. You can make cauliflower out of anything or anything out of cauliflower, but usually they can tell. You just have to experiment with different things. Like
Yeah.
we've got Kraft dinner made out of cauliflower for a while. When they're young, they didn't really notice the difference because they would put ketchup in their Kraft dinner, which is gross to me. But
It's
Kraft
amazing. You're
Kraft
missing out, bro.
Kraft dinner is the same as macaroni and cheese for all of our American audience members. But we would drown it in that, so they really couldn't. So that worked for a little while, but they got wise to it after a while. You just got to kind of sneak it in there, or you make deals with them, like, oh, if you eat these two green beans, you can have some candy after dinner. I don't know, but that's probably not a lot
These
of our
two green
listeners.
beans are gonna really make a difference.
A lot of our listeners, well, the hope is they eat a couple and they realize they're not so bad, and then they eat more next time. Or you know what I did once with Grayson, especially. I just find different ways to phrase it. I'm like, okay, you got to eat three more of these, and then you can go. So he'd eat one. He'd be like, okay, you're eating one now. Remember, you have to eat three. So three more. So after you eat one, I tell him he had to eat three more again. And then I'm like, okay, well then you ate one, so now there's two more left. And then he put one on his fork and right, he's put his mouth and he puts it. I'm like, okay, good, that's good. Now get the two more left after that. And I would get him to like eat triple what I originally asked him to eat because he wasn't paying attention. I was counting the numbers.
That's awesome.
It
He
worked with him and a little bit with Hudson, but Grayson's the most picky eater of all of them now. So you just have to find things they like and
so
hopefully
serious
balance it out
question.
with some
How is
nutrition.
Grayson's math skills in school?
Oh, he's actually got straight A's now.
Oh, awesome.
I can't do that to him now, but it worked for a little while back then. I don't know how I did. He would part of it is he'd get so mad at having to eat that stuff that he'd get distracted at how many he ate.
That's so
So
funny.
you just have to be creative or like distract him. I'm like, okay, I'd be like, um, you have to eat every one of them that's on your plate. And then when you ate one, I'd kind of sneak another one on there without him realizing it. But he was the worst one. He's still really picky with eating. You just have to figure out ways to get him nutrition, like putting the yogurt in the smoothies, or um, they don't like vegetables that much, but they do like fruit. So I know it's still not the same, but you give them more fruit of that they like. Or you
Yeah.
find like they like carrots, but they only like them cooked or whatever. So you have to, I don't know, it gets tough, especially when you have five.
Yeah. Trying
After a
to.
while, you just give up.
All right. Here's
I haven't
Little
I haven't
Caesars.
killed any of them. I haven't killed any of them yet though. But Grayson is pretty skinny. I don't know. But that's the one I struggle with. Brian, they're all picky, but Brian Miles and Hudson are a little bit better now. But
That's good.
Sadie
Yeah.
and Grayson, we get in so many battles over food. I would just say bribe, bribe, bribe.
Um.
More screen time if you finish your dinner.
Yeah.
Well, I always go into the when I was a kid, and so does Alana. You know what we used to eat? And I would tell them all these things that mom made us eat. And mom really wasn't that strict with us, but I still tell them. But Alana's parents were really strict, and she's like, I had to eat everything on my plate. And,
Yeah.
that works sometimes, but just
Um.
bribe them and reward them. That's the
So,
answer to everything.
so I think that probably goes into this the next question I have is for you is at what age do you start asking them to complete chores and how do you motivate them to do so?
I've tried a few things over the years. You want to try to do it as soon as you can.
Yeah.
As soon as they're able. Like I had Sadie out there mowing the lawn when she was only 2, so
Wait,
just
wait,
did
like
it.
actually mowing the lawn?
Yeah, man.
Whoa.
No,
How,
don't. No, I'm kidding. I didn't.
uh,
But no, like doing chores. What was the question again?
how do you,
When did I start it?
yeah, and how do you
It's
motivate them?
just have to get them started with simple things, and helping them do them the first time, like showing them how to clean their room, where stuff goes, showing them how to everything vacuum. Show them how to. You just have to show them how to do things, and it's kind of a step by step. You start simple, and you get bigger chores as you go along. Um, I tried everything though. Like I did this thing called Dad Bucks, where if they did their chores, I would give them like so many Dad Bucks per chores they did, or
Yeah.
time they spent reading or whatever. And I had a dad store in our closet at one point where if you get this many Dad Bucks, you can have this. It actually worked well for a little while, but I don't know. I lost track of doing that. We did it when they were really into those Disney Infinity characters
Oh yeah.
on the Wii U, and I would buy those because they wanted to get all of them. So every time I saw one on sale or whatever, I'd buy it and shove it in the dad store. And they open up, they'd be like, "Oh, they're so excited to see what's in there." Um, and like I have the more like different levels of dad bucks. There might be just candy in there that didn't cost as much as an Infinity
That's
figure.
good.
So
It's gonna teach you some budgeting and things like
yeah,
that
yeah,
too,
it
and
did for
saving
a
for
little while. And then I had more than 3 kids, and I couldn't do that anymore because it's hard to keep up with. But if you only have 2 or 3 kids, it's not that bad.
now, what
So I
did the
tried
dad
that.
bucks look like? Was it a picture of you on a green piece of
I
paper or
really wanted it to be, but no, I just kept track on my phone, like on my memo app or whatever.
yeah.
I'd have all their names and I'd show them how many they had. But it would have been cool if I had a picture of me on it.
That's
I wanted
amazing.
to do that, but Alana, she didn't think that was as cool as I did. So I tried that. But they started cleaning their room when they're only like 2 or 3 years old, I guess. Some people might start earlier than that. And then now they take out the trash sometimes, do the dishes, sweep,
Yeah.
things like that. They still hate doing it, but
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't like
I
doing it
just
either. So
when they get older, I just take away things now. I morally take away things if they don't do it, then give them things. But you just have I don't know. The dad store was a good idea. It worked really well. I wish I would have kept up with it.
um I I like kind of like I don't like cleaning, but I love having a clean house. So I kind of make on Thursdays when I clean the house, and I feel like once I have this kid, my cleaning the house time will likely deplete.
Yeah,
But
you won't clean it.
um, so
And that's the thing. Like you for me, like because I always try to do everything for Alana. She runs around all day. So like I have all these chores I have to do at night, and it gets old after a while. Like you're tired from your day and you have to
yeah,
clean the kitchen, change the cat litter, whatever it is. Like there's a list of chores I have, and sometimes I don't get done doing them. I should list of chores like I'm a kid, but sometimes I don't get done doing those things till like almost 10 after I've worked all day. But you
yeah,
just have to force yourself to do it, man. It's yeah,
yeah.
because you have to. Like for me, I try to do it. I'm not saying I'm great, but like things like that, I do whatever I can when I'm home. That so that Alana doesn't have to do those
Oh
things.
yeah, for sure. Makes
So
sense.
it does make you tired after a while. All you want to do is sit down and watch TV. Especially the
Um,
last couple of years when they get involved with activities more like sports and music clubs, and when the more activities they get involved with, the
yeah.
quicker like it's harder to keep up with.
Um, that's actually another good question. I've sort of talked to my people about this, but when you have kids, you sort of, in a sense, lose part of your identity in that you don't get to do the things you love to do as much. How did you cope with that?
Um, it's kind of you just have to find something that they like that's sort of like what you like. I don't know. Um,
It's like right now,
Like,
I have so many hobbies. I have this podcast thing we're doing. I like to play video games. I play music with my friend. I play I play Dungeons and Dragons. I have lots of things I like to do, and I know I won't be able to do all those things
just do them
anymore.
as much as you can now before your kid comes, because
Okay, fair
that's
enough.
gone. But how do you cope with losing those out on those things you're saying?
Yeah,
Um, for me, I just have to find ways to build on common things with my kids and me. Like I love music, and Alana doesn't really. She likes music, but she doesn't. She never really played it or whatever. But like off, so she's not as much of a support of it as I am. Obviously, I am because I that's my what I do for my living. A living. I work as a music teacher, but like I can't. I haven't been able to get any of them to play the saxophone yet. But
oh,
they all have played various instruments, and Alana really wanted them to play violin. So I just started to develop a love for violin when they started playing that. Like, and I found ways to do that with them to
yeah,
enjoy what I used to do. Like I'd try to play piano or clarinet or whatever with them while they're playing their violin. They don't play violin anymore, but kind of add what you like to do and do it with them. Um, and now you just support them in what they do, and you kind of like enjoy what they're doing. It reminds you of what you used to do, I guess.
yeah,
Like the sports, I was never a huge sports guy, but I did play a little bit of baseball. And Miles is really into baseball, so like I don't know, you just find ways to talk about when you used to do it, how you used to be, and Miles likes to play catch with me and practice baseball. So that's just you get to enjoy. I get to sort of enjoy playing baseball a little bit again while also spending time with him. You just have to find things that they like to do and kind of figure out ways to apply to what you like to do. But the Dungeons and Dragons, you could even do that with Dungeons and Dragons eventually.
yeah. I'm hoping so.
Like that game you got for my kids. They
Yeah,
haven't played it lately, but they did. Miles and Hudson played it a few times.
that's cool.
And then like it is important to do all you can to have a little bit of me time, which I'd never do that, but like you need a little bit of time to still enjoy your things. Like you have to find time to do that.
Yeah,
So, and I don't know, it's tough sometimes, but um you just have to put it in your day somewhere or you
yeah,
realize that you haven't done it forever. And I don't even do that great of a job at it, but once in a while I'll sit down at the piano and just play for a little while. It usually only happens when the kids are doing something else and
yeah,
Alana's out or whatever. But you just have to, or me, like I go on runs, but I only do it. I can usually only do it in the mornings
yeah,
unless I'm going to the gym with Alana and doing
yeah.
it with her. So you just have to, I don't know, have to find time to do it, but you have to also realize you'll have a lot less time to do it.
Yes, that's true. That
Like
is,
I don't really play anymore at all the saxophone. Except at school once in a while. I never played at home. I wish I did, but I play piano a little bit,
yeah,
but I don't play that at all. And I don't. I do like for movies. I'm really into Marvel and stuff, and the only one who still likes watching it with me is Miles. But you find something like that you both like that you liked, and they
yeah.
like it, do it together, I guess.
That's
But
cool.
pretty much, you just have to say goodbye to all your hobbies. That's all. To make a long
Uh,
story short, your hobbies don't matter anymore.
yeah, or like what I'm realizing is I kind of have to narrow it down to maybe one
Yeah.
that I keep up with rather than all
Maybe.
of them.
Good luck with that. I don't even get to do that. But like for me, I still listening to music. Like when I don't get to play, but I listen to it a lot more. Um, now that I
While you're
like
doing
when
the
I take
chores.
the
Yeah,
dog, or I take out the dog, I have my phone with me listening to music when I take her for a walk, or when I'm driving back and forth to work. That's pretty much my only time where I'm by myself. Because I teach a bunch of kids all day and I have kids when I get home. But so I'll listen to music. I don't know, things like that. You just have to your hobbies you have to alter them a little bit.
yes,
But then and then also you just start to you really don't care about them after a while when you care more about what your kids like after a while.
yeah. It's fair, fair.
Yeah,
Uh,
you're not gonna your priorities will be different. I mean, you'll still always like those things, but you won't really like them as much.
so
I
what
don't
you're
think.
saying is that you and Kevin are going to have to do more with Brothers Born.
Hmm?
Let's have to make it more collaborative.
Well, oh, without you, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it might. Our listeners might have a little bit less episodes to listen to at first, but we'll see.
I've been working on it at work during my lunch hour, so that's usually
Oh
what I do.
man,
Work on it.
dedication. For
Um,
me, like my kids are old enough now where it's a little bit easier that they're more independent. So I have a little, it's easier, but yeah, you just have to kind of mold what you like into what they like, or figure out when you can sneak it in, I guess. Like I love
yes.
to golf. I don't golf anymore, unfortunately. My friend from college just wants me to go with him the next few months, but don't have the money and I don't have the time. But now that they're older, I might actually get to go out,
Yeah. Maybe take them
because
golfing with you. Maybe Bryant will like it. Or
I'd like
Bryant's.
to. I think that I would like to do that a lot, but golf is kind of expensive, man.
It is. It's really
I
popular here
do
in
take
Florida.
Bryant's in he does track and field, so we go running together once in a while, him and me.
Oh, that's cool.
Um, so that's one sport that we both can do.
That's awesome.
None of the rest of them like running as of yet, but we do. Grayson loves riding bikes, so that's another way. Like I got into bike riding on my mission a little bit, so it's one way I can still enjoy bike riding. Obviously, I'm not riding as intense as I did back then, but
So this one's kind of just happened to me. That's why I was curious about this. Your kid comes home from school and they tell you their classmate is related to, I said the weekend, but it could be anyone famous. Their classmate's related to a famous person. And then they take it a step further and they say, I bet you $1 million that so and so is my cousin. How do you tell your kid that's probably not true? And more importantly, how do you make sure they don't place a bet in this outrageous
oh,
situation? So let me tell you, when I was a kid, there's this kid I went to school with who'd
well,
said
first of all, my kids don't have $1 million, but go ahead.
this is a
They
kid
better
that
not be
said
betting a million
that Usher was his cousin. And I was like, Usher, really your cousin? He's like, yeah, man. I was like, no, he's not. He's like, I bet you $1 million. And I remember going home and telling mom, hey, this kid bet me $1 million that this famous person was his cousin. And it like bothered me. So I was curious if you run anything similar to that. And
No, that's kind of a weird situation. Kids say that all the time. I'm like, oh, if my kids, man, so and so said that he's related to whatever. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Wow, cool story. I wonder it would be like I act like it's. I don't know. I just kind of whatever. I wonder if they get to see each other a lot. Like I'll say stuff like that. I don't really,
I
you know, I never
oh,
really dealt with that too much. But once I would just play along with it or whatever, or I'd be like, I don't know, maybe they are, but probably not. But my kids never took any comments like that.
I
Pretty
just now found the answer that I would give. Like, I would say, yeah, but your dad is part of the Brothers Born. Bam, there it is, right there. So we
That's
have
right.
a have a solution.
That's a
Um,
good point. But no, I know I don't know. That's an interesting one. I would just kids just talk all the time, man. I would just be like, okay, whatever. Just I wouldn't care. Maybe I would play along. Maybe they are. That'd be cool. See if you can get their autograph. I remember saying that one time.
oh really?
Yeah. I don't remember who the celebrity was, but
Um,
and then it usually just died off after that. I didn't hear anything else about it.
how do you respond to the question, Dad, are dragons real?
Um, I don't know. Just I never had that question. Questions like that.
Yes.
I don't know. Like when they're little, you just let them imagine, and you just
Imagine Dragons.
yeah. There you go. Um, you just let I don't know. You just let them. Sure, they're real. And you tell them stories about who else would the knights have fought back in the day, or I can show you this movie where they're fighting a dragon, or I don't know. You just kind of
Then you watch Game of Thrones with your kid, and you're like, wait a
no.
minute, maybe this is a bad
I won't
decision.
even watch that show. But I don't know. You just kind of when it's time to let them let go of things
To
like
lay it on
the
them.
tooth fairy and I don't know things like that. Usually they just figure it out on their own. But
Yeah.
when they're little, I'll let them think whatever's real, like fairies. Sadie's really into fairies right now. I'm like, yeah, let's. Of course they're real. Like I don't know, play along with them. I don't know.
And we're out of time. So more important, I guess most importantly, for all the pain and trouble, is being a parent truly is most wonderful thing you've ever experienced? Is it as great as everyone says it is?
No. Okay. See you later. No. Yeah. Of course it is, man. It's the best thing I've ever done. It's
Interesting.
awesome to see your kids grow up and the people they become, and um, I don't know. I don't know. It's been a crazy ride so far, but of course, yeah, it's definitely worth it. I wouldn't change anything. Sometimes a friend of mine the other day or yesterday on Facebook. Um, she was posting about how stores are already starting to bring out the back to school stuff, and I just wrote on her on the thread. I'm like, usually they don't do that till after July 5th or whatever. And then I wrote, my wife and I just have to buy that stuff all year round because we search for the deals. Because with 5 kids and that stuff's so expensive, we have to spread it out. And she's like, 5 kids? Oh my gosh, Dave, are you okay? Exclamation. I guess she didn't know I had 5 kids. So I have to check on how you're doing, your well being. I went to college with this person. But anyway, so like some people think you're crazy when you have so many kids or even just one
And
kid. But
five's like a lot, but I've met families that have 9 or 10 sometimes.
well, Lena's family had 6.
Oh yeah.
And of course we had 4, I guess 3. But yeah, there's definitely bigger families out there. But nowadays, actually, I do know a lot of families that have 4 kids. Of people I went to college with, I don't think I know any of them that have 5. I do know a lot of church people that have 5 kids,
Yeah.
just like
That's
me.
a popular church thing.
Well, ours wasn't originally going to be 5, but anyways, like people think I'm crazy, but yeah, I wouldn't. It's been great. I wouldn't change any of it. Sometimes it's like the worst thing ever, and you just want to have your old life back.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, it's really, I don't know.
And
I don't really. I guess I don't want to get too sentimental, but no, it's really a great thing because you get to see them grow up and carry on what you've taught them, and be like you live your life through them after a while. Like you start to think of see what they've done and the accomplishments they made, and you're like, you're just really proud of who they are, and
yeah.
being able to support them and showing that you care for them. Like they're really the most important people in the world. So it's good to have people like that. But on the other hand, if you don't ever have kids, like I don't want it to sound like life's crappy if you don't have kids, but so I don't want to sound like that. So it's awesome not having kids too. I don't mean that, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's definitely a great thing to do. Like it's the most wonderful thing I've done and the most hard thing I've done before too.
And you bring up a good point because there are some people who never want kids, and I think if you know that about yourself, that's totally fine. There's nothing like you do what you feel is right. But
Right.
I was curious because I know I don't know. I'm honestly a little scared to have this kid, but I'm excited. But I'm like,
Well, it's like
as great as I say it is? Then
it's
I'm all
like
about it.
everything's more with kids. I'm trying to think if I can explain that. Um, like everything, you get more scared because you're worried about what how they're gonna turn out, or like you want them to be safe, so you get more worried about silly things like when they're little, about um looking around all the time that they're with you in the store, or like you get everything's more like you get more angry and frustrated sometimes than you do when you don't have them, obviously. But like you are more like a lot of things you're more happier, you're more excited about doing things in your life when you get to share it with them. Like,
Yeah,
oh, I can't wait to show them this because I loved this when I was a kid, or I can't wait to take them to Cedar Point. I can't wait to
oh yeah,
things like that. Like you want to see that how excited I can't wait. Christmas is like I don't even care about. I don't even think I've gotten any gifts for Christmas. I got one. I usually get one gift a year, and that's all I get now. And I don't even care. Like I just really care about seeing what they get and how excited they are for it.
yeah,
So like you don't even really care about any of that stuff anymore. You just want them to have like I don't know. I don't even really like. I get to the point now where I feel guilty buying something for my like. I'll keep the same pair of shoes for years and years and years, and I'll feel guilty spending like $10 on a shirt, but I'll buy like an outfit for them and I'll spend $25-$30,
yeah,
or I'll like take them out to, or I'll feel guilty for like just buying a candy bar at the store because I think I'm spending too much money. But then I'll take them out to McDonald's that day and drop because McDonald's is not cheap anymore for me. I'll drop like $50 at McDonald's. I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll do that. But then like you don't really think of it yourself as much,
yeah.
and everything's just more magnified. Like your happiness, your fear. Like I don't know how to explain it really, but overall, like the love you have for them is different than what you've experienced thus far in your life. So
Interesting.
it'll be awesome.
Yeah.
It also will suck. It'll be scary. It'll also be exciting. It'll also be tiring. It'll be all those things magnified.
Yes.
So, and then eventually, when you start to realize that you don't even like you really put them before. You do that with your spouse as well, but like you worry more about them and you care more about them than yourself. Then you know that you're being a halfway decent parent, I guess. That's
That's a
when you'll
good
realize
measure.
that.
I like
And
that.
you'll probably realize that like right away too. So, the first time you hold that little, can we say what it is?
If you want to, it's fine.
The first time you hold that little girl and you're like at the hospital or whatever, like I don't know, it is pretty cool. It's not really as like I don't know, it's not really as Hollywood as you would think, if that makes sense. Like
yeah. Well,
like it's like that, but it's not like that. If that, I don't know how to explain it, but
no, I get it. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Hollywood makes it look so glamorous. I don't know glamorous is the right
yeah,
word to.
but it definitely is a great feeling, and you're like you realize right away that you do anything for that person and everything. Also, you have to put kids first, but you have to put your wife before anything else, man. You always have to remember that. Like you always have to make time for her, and you have to do everything that you can do. Like you have to get up at night and do unless I mean put the kids back to sleep or whatever. I guess it was easier for us because we bottle fed all the kids or whatever. But you have to do whatever you can do. You have to do it.
Yeah. That's kind of, I'm expecting that.
She is doing more than you could ever imagine by just carrying that child and giving birth to it.
Yeah.
And all the things that are going to be different for her. Like you have to just do whatever you can do. So that's my number one advice. Put her first, even before the kids. But
good to know. Well, this has been fun. I hope our listeners enjoyed this conversation. I certainly did. I think it's a nice change of pace for the Brothers Born. We're used to doing goofy things about pop culture and whatnot, but we're trying to strike the heart chords a little bit, pulling the heartstrings, help you feel part of the family. So
you are a string player.
Yes. So I had fun, Dave. Thank you for the advice, and we'll catch you next time. All right.
Good luck, all you parents out there, parents to be.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Brothers Born podcast. Second episode of the year, even though the year's almost over. That's how we rolled this year, but things are going to change here. We have our other podcast, Unlikely Throwdowns. That's every other Sunday, and I'm hoping to get to a point where Brothers Born will be alternate Sundays, so you'll get something from us every Sunday. Check out our website, www.brothersbornmedia.com. Hit us up on Facebook, facebook.com/brothersbornmedia. If you have an idea for an unlikely throwdown or special interest topic, let us know. Just send us an email or send us a message on the old Facebook. If you haven't told your friends about our shows, please do that and give us a rating on your podcatcher. That'd be awesome. Folks, it's been a pleasure. This was fun, and we'll catch you next time.